I think early development, that timeline is going to be reset, especially in oncology. It's going to go from things that used to take, 5 to 10 years, or now the expectation is it should take you 2 to 3 years or even less. But also beyond the timeline, it's you're going to de-risk the program. You're going to know a lot more about your molecule.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Panna Sharma, the CEO of Lantern Pharma. And Panna, it's good to see you. How are you?
Steve, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you've had some significant news out today, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But for those not familiar, maybe give me a little background on the company.
Sure. Lantern Pharma is an AI company developing cancer therapies. We developed a proprietary platform that leverages hundreds of billions of data points, all from cancer research, patient studies, animal studies, in vivo and in vitro models, and then has algorithms sitting on top of that to help answer some of the most fundamental questions in cancer drug development. We've developed multiple drugs. 3 of them are in clinical trials today, so this isn't just theoretical. And we've actually also helped other companies develop and advance their therapies. That's allowed us to bring some of these drugs into trials and to patients, and what we believe are record times. Timelines compressed into months and quarters, not decades, and we're seeing some of the fruit of that.
Yeah, with the emergence of AI, a lot of people were suggesting that, these type of timelines could be dramatically increased. So you're suggesting that you're seeing that with what you're doing.
Absolutely. I think if you look at early stage development, where we were several years ago when we first went public, raised capital, we could not have advanced the number of molecules that we have had advanced through GMP manufacturing, through orphan drug designations, and into human clinical trials. Now we have multiple phase 2 trials without leveraging data and AI. So absolutely, I think early development, that timeline is going to be reset, especially in oncology. It's going to go from things that used to take, 5 to 10 years, or now the expectation is it should take you 2 to 3 years or even less. But also beyond the timeline, it's you're going to de-risk the program. You're going to know a lot more about your molecule. So instead of 1 out of every 10 drugs potentially working, I think that number is going to change to 2, 3, 4, 5. I think the quality of the shots on goal is going to go up dramatically as a result of improved trial design, improved understanding of the molecule, and improved bringing together of different combinations of therapies. All of those things that I talked about are all things that our platform does.
Yeah. I mentioned that you had some positive news out today, and that was on LP-184. You released some more data on your phase 1A. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in this particular release.
Yeah, we finished a trial. It's about 63 patients, so fairly substantial. And one of the things that was highlighted, at least during early development by our AI platform, was that it would be very active in tumors that had DNA damage repair sensitivity or deficiency. And that is exactly what we saw in the trial. In fact, some of the patients that had the best responses were patients that had some very challenging tumors, but they had DNA damage repair deficiencies. So that's a wonderful check mark to show that the in silico ideas are actually coming to life in real patients. Second, we also had some very specific ideas in terms of how the drug would be activated. And in fact, that also seems to hold true. So I think, we had an over 50% response rate when we hit the therapeutic threshold. And that's great. That's a really great preliminary result. And we have a very effective, what we call a recommended phase 2 dose. So I think overall, all that development had been predicted early on by the AI platform and our team, and now we're beginning to see the fruits of that in the trial, and most importantly, actually beginning to hopefully affect people's lives, which is ultimately the real goal of these cancer therapies.
For sure. Panna, obviously we're in December, so we're getting close to the end of 2025. So tell me about the plan for 2026. What are you looking to see from the company next year?
Yeah, we've got one more data release hopefully coming out this year. So we're looking at probably late December, maybe early January, but we're trying to push for this year for another one of our trials. That's a phase 2 trial in a very unique class of patients. These are people who do not smoke, don't have a history of tobacco use, but they still get lung cancer. It's about 15 to 17% of North American population. And in East Asia, countries like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, it's closer to 40%.
Wow.
And so it's a growing issue. And it's marked by something very different than people who smoke. PD-L1 levels are very low, tumor mutation burden is very low, and they typically have mutations in the kinase world, in the kinase domains. And so the disease is totally different. And so traditional therapies that are pointed at non-small cell lung cancer don't work very well, and our drug seems to work. Again, it has a very different mechanism of action, targeting those kinase mutations. So we're pretty excited to share that data. We expect that out hopefully later this month. And that's, again, a phase 2 trial in a population that is growing globally. And so we think that's about a $3.5 to $4 billion indication now globally.
Okay. And one last thing I want to ask you about, I was reading on the website when I was researching your company about you're starting a clinical trial for a pediatric disease as well in 2026?
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. We have multiple rare pediatric disease designations. In fact, we have 4 of them. So that's a big number for one, for a small company. So we have 4 rare pediatric disease designations, and we're going to start the trial in pediatric brain cancers sometime in early 2026. We're just awaiting for green light on our IND from the FDA, but we've got sites that are lined up, and we're working with a pediatric cancer consortium to do that.
Well, it's such a big need. We see the rates of cancer are on the rise, of course, in North America, really around the world. So, Panna, good luck with everything. Thanks very much for your time today. Really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to following your story. Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. There's Panna Sharma, the CEO of Lantern Pharma.